Welcome everybody to the Weapons Awareness and Exploitation presentation. Today we're going to be talking about how to keep your young person safe. My name's Jackie Thomas. I am the Southwest Prevention Officer for the Children's Society.
And my name is Alan Aldersley-Byrne. I am the Youth and Early Intervention Coordinator for the Wiltshire area, forming part of the Youth and Early Intervention team with Wiltshire Police. Today's session will include these bullet points: the reasons why young people carry weapons, the laws around carrying and using weapons. I'll include information on the stop search procedure, the signs and impact of exploitation. We've got an extra video to play with the help of PCSO Mandy Coles, helping young people spot the signs, but it's for your awareness as well, and where you can go for further support.
So why do young people carry weapons? So when we look at this in a bit more detail, it can be for a sense of protection and security, social status, peer pressure. They could be fearful or being intimidated, fear of reprisals, could be about earning respect, fear for their own safety, and where they are actually placed in a peer group setting. So when we explore the main reasons for carrying weapons, we can see that child criminal exploitation can be closely linked to child sexual exploitation. There are pull factors for children and young people in performing tasks for others, which results in them gaining accommodation, food, gifts, status, or a sense of safety, money, or drugs. Often children and young people are groomed and coerced into feeling valued and nurtured. Pushing factors for children could be that they are escaping from situations where their needs are neglected and there's a high exposure to unsafe individuals, and also there could be conflict or the absence of a primary attachment figure. Children and young people can be threatened with violence and threats of violence through sexual and criminal exploitation.
So what the law says: police officers can search anyone at any time if they believe they may be carrying an offensive weapon. What I must point out is that Wiltshire and Swindon are very safe places to live and work, and it is not the norm for young people to be carrying any offensive weapon. However, as long as there is good reason to search, a police officer can stop and search you, your vehicle, your clothes, or anything you are carrying if they believe you may be carrying an offensive weapon. Before they can do this, they must have a good reason and tell you why they are searching you. Police officers don't need to be in uniform. If they're not, they must show you their warrant or ID card. You should be offered a record of the actual stop search, and you should be able to either receive that straight away once the stop search is finished, or you should be able to receive the paperwork at the nearest police station. Now, the police use these powers to help make the local community safer, and it prevents and detects crime. So now you understand the stop and search procedure. The main question now would be, what is an offensive weapon? Offensive weapons, as it says there, are any articles made or adapted for use to cause injury to the person or intended by the person having it with them for such use. Now, an offensive weapon that has no innocent purpose. It could be anything that has been adapted to cause injury, and something that is not offensive or changed but is intended to be used to cause injury. Now, in a nutshell there, anything could become an offensive weapon. Now, with household items, this is the main reason why we know that the majority of offensive weapons that have been either seized or have been used in unfortunate events are actually from the kitchen drawer. They're basically anything that they could quickly grab, because as it says there in red, it is illegal to sell a knife to anyone under the age of 18. Now, within Wiltshire Police, we do work alongside trading standards. We have the ability to do test purchases where some of our police cadets have been chosen in the past to, with adult supervision, of course, to buy or test purchase buying a knife or a bladed article from a store, to see if the shop assistant will actually sell that item to them. And as it says there, it is illegal to sell anything such as cutlery or anything that would be considered a knife or bladed article to anyone under the age of 18. And as I've said already, that's why we see a lot of the weapons that we've taken from the streets being taken from the kitchen drawer, being taken from the shed. And as I've already mentioned, anything could become a weapon, such as pencils, pens, rulers, etc. On the subject of buying weapons, our intelligence department suggests that young people are purchasing knives online, bypassing the checks through the use of their parents or adults at home, their credit cards or debit cards as well. Even Google Pay has been used where it's simply a one-click purchase, and adults probably don't have the two-step security verification. With that in mind, one person can then purchase multiple knives and distribute it around their friendship groups, or indeed the people that are asking for weapons, and they choose potentially vulnerable young children or indeed young adults that have got the access to Amazon, eBay, and so on. So what the law actually says, it's not just the person with the offensive weapon who can be found guilty of a crime. It could be anyone who was with them or knew or did something which led to it happening. And as it shows in bold there, that's part of the law called joint enterprise. And a great example would be if someone had a knife or a bladed article and brought it to a party and another person knew, they themselves could be held responsible and culpable of a potential charge. And as it says there, it's called aiding and abetting because they knew about it, they could have stopped it, but they never. So that means they're involved just as much as the person committing the actual offence was. So that's something called joint enterprise. There are decisions going through the courts to say, is joint enterprise something that needs to be reviewed? And as we are the enforcers of the law, we're not above it. We only enforce it. So if the laws do change, all police forces have to adapt, of course, to the new laws and regulations. But at this present time, joint enterprise involves not just the actual person committing a potential murderous offence, but everyone involved.
So when we take a look at county lines is a term used to describe gangs and organised criminal networks, and they're involved in exporting illegal drugs into one or more importing areas within the United Kingdom, using dedicated mobile phone lines or other forms of deal lines. They're likely to exploit children and vulnerable adults to move and store the drugs and money, and they will often use coercion, intimidation, violence, which includes sexual violence, and weapons.
The next slide you see here has been taken from the Home Office, which has highlighted the signs to recognise in the event of possible exploitation. As you can see on the slide, there are a few signs to recognise. So, to visually enhance this, PCSO Mandy Coles from Wiltshire Police will take you through what we advise young people to spot when identifying exploitation.
What are the signs of exploitation? There's quite a few, and these are things that you can look out for amongst your friends and your peers. Many of these could include a sudden change in behaviour with violent and aggressive outbursts, becoming isolated from friends and family, where they used to hang around with groups and now they're more on their own or mixing with other people, maybe people that you don't know or don't recognise in the community that you live or go to school in. They could start to carry weapons. They have multiple mobile phones, often phones that aren't the latest tech, more old Nokias and things like that. That's a real big sign. Unexplained new possessions and money. So this might be they've never got any money usually for new clothes, but all of a sudden they've got the latest trainers that cost hundreds and hundreds of pounds, and they're rocking up to school with these trainers. That might be an indication. Regularly going missing or not attending school, that is a key, because sometimes these people will make them run and go to other places, other large cities and towns across the country, where they will then load them up and send them back to do their deeds. Unexplained injuries that could indicate they've been assaulted. The use of drugs and alcohol. Maybe they never used to be involved. Maybe they hated anybody even smoking cannabis or anything around them, and all of a sudden you've now seen them become quite involved in that side of exploitation. And finally, associating with established groups, in particular older members. These could be people that you don't recognise, people that aren't from our communities, people that you have never seen before, or maybe even older people within our communities that you know have got a history of drugs or drug abuse.
So some of the other possible signs of exploitation can be violent incidents at home, criminal ties in a family unit, incidents of alcohol use, an interest in knives and weapons, perhaps through asking general questions or online image searches, sudden changes in friendship groups, missing episodes, and staying out for long periods of time.
It's important to note that not everyone being exploited will show these signs and behaviours that you've seen today. These behaviours don't necessarily mean someone is being exploited. There could be a legitimate reason for them. How to raise and report your concerns. We, as Wiltshire Police and all police forces across the UK, always say 999 in an emergency situation when there could be serious harm to life, or 101 being the non-emergency contact number for the police in the UK, whereas a crime has already happened and it's not happening there and then. So that would be something that we use for antisocial behaviour. We also use it for low-level crime, but by all means, 999 or 101 will get you through to the police. And there are other local services that can help, such as local council. And on this next slide here, these are via Swindon or Wiltshire Council for the multi-agency safeguarding hubs, which do look after and oversee any sort of issues with young people. So for Swindon Borough Council, for Swindon MASH, the email is swindon.gov.uk. The phone number is on the screen there, 01793 466 903. For Wiltshire, if you are based in Wiltshire Council remit, it is mash@wiltshire.gov.uk and 0300 456 0108. And this just highlights that if you're not ready to go to the police at the first instance, there are many different other avenues you can go down. And Jackie works for the Children's Society. That is another avenue you can contact for support and guidance.
So you can also ring Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111. They're 100% anonymous always. And Crime Stoppers allows you to report information anonymously. Your personal information cannot be traced, and the intelligence is passed on to the police and other relevant agencies.
So, who else do we work with? As already mentioned, Jackie does come from the Children's Society, and I represent Wiltshire Police, part of the Youth and Early Intervention team. But for you, 999 or 101 might not be the best first ports of call for you. You might want to seek support elsewhere. And on the screen now, you can see the other bodies we work with. We work with the fire service. We work with U-Turn for Swindon and Motivate for Wiltshire. These are the drug rehabilitation and reference services that young people can use. We also work with Swindon Women's Aid and Splits, based in Wiltshire. We work alongside the NHS. As already said, we work with our multi-agency safeguarding hubs within Wiltshire and Swindon councils. And of course, we work with our schools across Swindon and Wiltshire.
So where can you go for support? PACE, Parents Against Child Sexual Exploitation, Educate Against, Action for Children, Think You Know, Wiltshire Police, Southwest Grid for Online Learning, NSPCC, the Children's Society. So these are all places that you can go, meet other parents and talk through any concerns that you have.
So where can your young person go for support? I think it's important to say that they can go to someone in school, they can go to yourselves as parents, carers or guardians. They just need to go to a trusted adult that they know and can speak to. We also advise talking to their friends. But if they're not ready to actually talk to anyone within their local network, they can talk to the people that are on the screen now, the groups and the organisations that are there as support. Fearless, which is a youth-led version of Crime Stoppers, where they can report crime anonymously. You have Think You Know, which is a website full of toolkits on internet safety and how to report certain things online. You've got Click CEOP, which is the Child Exploitation Online Protection Service and National Crime Agency that helps young people deal with inappropriate material that they've seen online, which also falls in hand with the UK Safer Internet Centre as well. You have the NSPCC and Childline, where there are apps to download. There are message boards that young people can access and talk to people of the same age that are probably going through the same problems. And of course, Wiltshire Police. We'll be there, ready to help, ready to support when the need arises. We thank you all for listening, and our contact details will be coming up on the screen now if you need any further support or advice, or just in general anything that you would like us to dispense to young people as information. We're here to help.